Yeah, welcome. Let's get right into this masterclass. This is AI for D&T teachers. So I'm super excited to share with you some skills and lessons today. So let's get right into it. So just in the chat, just quickly write, when it comes to AI in your teaching, which dog do you feel like right now? Let me know in the chat. What number are you? There's no right or wrong answer. It's just what are you feeling like right now in regards to your version of AI? Yeah, awesome. So seven, Owen. What's the idea behind the seven? And then Neil, you got the two. So a bit curious. Got an ear out, just keeping an ear to the ground. G'day, Mark. Thanks for joining, mate. We've only just started, so welcome. We're just about to jump in. So before we get too carried away, jump in to the chat and just rate yourself. Where are you right now in regards to how you're feeling about AI in regards to your teaching? And just answer that question real quick in the chat. Hey, Mrs. Mac. Glad you could make it. We were only just getting into it, so glad you could get here. Just a quick question. Chuck it in the chat. No worries, Neil. We'll open up the mics a little bit later. I'll see if I might have to unmute you all. So I'll try that in a minute. So awesome. G'day, Colby. We're just getting started, as I said to the guys. Chuck it in the chat. Who are you? Where are you from? And have a look on the screen. What dog best represents you right now in regards to your emotions in regards to AI and your experience so far? I'll give you 30 seconds before we're going to jump into it. And there's people just coming through right now, which is really fantastic to see everyone here. It's been a while since I've seen a couple of you guys, which is cool. Cool to connect again. All right. Unreal. Neil, you're in Tamworth. Fantastic. My first teaching job was out in Gunnedah, a little town just out of Tamworth. Awesome. So if you guys don't know where the chat box is, there's a little button down the bottom of the screen. It'll say chat. Just click that and start typing away. Feel free to interact through the presentation and through the webinar, how we go. All right, let's jump into it, hey? So we are going to get right in. So my promise to you today is I'm going to show you how to leverage AI to transform your teaching to make real impact in students' lives without spending all your time learning how. So I want to be really clear. The AI lessons I shared with you today are relating to lesson planning, communication, student engagement, assessment design, classroom management, professional development, time management, data analysis, ethical AI use, future-proofing careers, creativity and innovation, report writing, and any topic that is related to teaching. And I know they work because I learnt them and use them today, and I've taught hundreds of people on how to do it, including early career teachers, experienced teachers, head teachers, deputy principals, directors, support staff, admin staff, and so many more. So I know this works from experience and not theory. And my favorite quote from LH Hardwick is, "A man with an experience is never at the mercy with one with an opinion." So with that being said, let's get right into it and let's begin. First things first, for those who don't know me, I want to address that elephant in the room. First and foremost, I'm a design and technology teacher, then a deputy principal, university lecturer, growth coach, and AI integration expert. And only just 5 years ago, a colleague and I led a class to take on the question for the Game Changer Challenge all about AI, how do we humanize technology? And it was so extreme case and hard to visualize. So I've got this silly little video for you to play real quick.
Why do our leaders always argue? Politicians, parents, even teachers. Just imagine for a moment what our life would be like if we could access 20% of our brain's capacity. What if we could build an artificially intuitive leader? They should be void of opinion, who takes into consideration religion, culture, and science without biased influences, who can make ethical and morally right decisions which are focused on the greater good. This leader should have the computational problem-solving skills of artificially augmented technology, yet with emotional intuition of the right hemisphere of the brain. This artificially intuitive and empathetic world leader should be a humanized form of technology.
So very silly little video we made 5 years ago when we were teaching our students all about AI. Now, you can probably tell back then it was all just a theory for us, but not anymore. So fast forward to 2023 and I dove headfirst into generative artificial intelligence. So my first project was I actually started designing and creating an AI chatbot for my brother's wine business. Now he's a winemaker down in the Yarra Valley, and he's got this website and he launched it last year or a couple of years ago, sorry. And I thought, oh, this is cool. I can use AI to interact with customers and find out information on when was this grape grown? What can they buy? What can they experience? And after a solid 2 days of just going down a YouTube rabbit hole, I created this little bot. And the problem was, I then hit this big roadblock. I went, oh, awesome. I can just integrate it into his website. No, I was heavily wrong. It had a huge paywall behind it. Excuse me. Huge paywall behind it, and the coding experience that I needed to actually integrate this bot was insane. It was way beyond the coding we teach in 7 and 8 and all the way up to year 12 in electronics. So I went too hard basket. I'll do it another day. And then I left it for at least 6 months. And then I dove in again. And after this, I paid $1,000 to get into the Sydney University's AI masterclass. I said, this is too cool to actually resist. So what do I got to do? I'm going to study absolute crazy amount in this context. So after doing that, and after doing, I swear it's like 200 plus, 300 plus hours in YouTube again, I then sort of built a craft, mastered the art, and I actually delivered it to 40 other deputy principals across New South Wales and then 150 teachers through generative AI practice. So you know a bit about where I was 5 years ago and a little bit where I am now. Now I want to show you how I did it and how you can too. But enough about me. I'm going to deliver for 2 people today. So the people first, help yourself. For people who are really new to AI in education, who just need that solid foundation without the hundreds of hours of YouTube or without thousands and thousands of dollars in professional development. I promise you, I'll help you get those skills to master AI and transform yourself into an innovative AI leader. So you're going to want to stay to the end. Now, the other person, number 2, is helping others. For those who are already a little bit more experienced, but are in a position to help others, I'm going to make it really clear, and it's in your self-interest to help everyone once we know this. And if you decide to join me, we can accomplish both of our missions. So, because at the end of the day, I learned we create better together, but no one's going to save you. The only person that can change you is you. And we've told that to our students many, many times. You're it. So you have to learn this stuff. However, I was privileged, and I will be privileged, to be your guide in saving literally hundreds of hours in the process. Now we got that all out of the way, let's zoom all the way out. Who would like to start to create more impact teaching, save time on admin tasks, create highly engaging learning experiences, and more than you currently are? Yeah, that's great. Like, otherwise, this would be a very, very short presentation. So rather than talk about all the ways you could create impact using I want to take that reverse approach. So how could you guarantee you'd burn out, never make impact to begin with? Well, the answer is never change what you're currently doing. And if you don't change your approach first, and then you don't share your skills and passions with colleagues, you pretty much sure won't make any impact anyway. We laugh at this, but some of you are doing this right now. So let's assume you already have something you want to teach, the what, the amazing thing that you've burning passion to deliver. If you had more time to create the lesson, more people would engage with it, right? Do you make more impact? Yeah, you do. So here's what I'm going to do for you in our short time to get together. We're going to share a few of my breakthrough experiences I've had learning to master AI in teaching and leading. This has built my confidence, saved me countless hours, and allowed me to create real impact with hundreds of people. You are going to get the lessons without the scar. I'm going to give you a bunch of frameworks to make more sense of AI in your context and the lives of those who you serve, so your students. And third, I'm going to invite you to join me on my mission to create real impact through collaborative education. So you still might be thinking, why should I actually listen to Vaughn? Well, here's some of my transformations from teachers and students I've recently had the privilege of leading. Here's a Skills for Success program. Now, this is my crew. So as Deputy Principal, I've got a year advisor, I've got head teacher wellbeing, and we just found that our current year 12, the current graduates of year 12 in year 11 had no academic skills, no time management skills. They had no idea how to study, prepare for assessments or exams. These were the students who were affected by COVID in lockdowns when they were supposed to be doing exam conditions. They also got majorly affected by bushfires back in 2019. So these kids had really no fundamentals because all of that got skipped over. But my team and I really just didn't have the time to structure, develop, plan out a program for these guys. We just didn't have it. But then I just thought, oh, look, we can use AI. We're the experts in this in regards to we know what needs to be taught and when, but we just don't have the time to develop it. So in one of our meetings, while we were talking away, I was just in the background, just on Grammarly Go, which is another version of AI that we use, integrated into Google Docs. And I just quickly just put in a few prompts and asked for a 10-week sequential learning academic skills program. Include timing, and they can only be for 20 minutes, timing, activities, and step-by-step success. And it was amazing. It produced this incredible program. And all I had to do as the leader of that team was to coordinate the experts in the school who had those skills and to deliver the 20-minute session that AI produced and presented for them. Now, the students you're seeing on the screen here are our year 12s that just went through that program. And from when they started, literally 99% of them had zero academic sort of rigor in regards to habit stacking, time management, all those kind of things. And they self-reported at the end of the 10-week program that they all feel 100% confident in tackling their HSC exams coming up. They felt more connected as a group and a study community. And they felt like, look, they're actually ready for success. They can actually apply these principles now into the future, not just HSC. Because remember, it's all about those real world experiences, which is pretty cool. So that is just one aspect of how AI has been transformative in what we do in our practice. So it's pretty cool, right? All right, let's get into it. So today you're going to be learning on a learning journey. Now, we all know as educators that we're going to feel overwhelmed when we start that. Now, this is a little bit of what you might go through. This is the roller coaster you might go along. So it might go, oh yeah, this looks like fun. I could do that. And then you go through the first little valley, which is, oh, this is getting a bit hard. And then you go hit that really steep incline of learning curve. It's like, I've literally got no idea what I'm doing, but I'm going to keep on going. Then you have a little bit of a win. You'll go, now I get it. And then you just go straight into what we call the valley of despair, which is, or not, I don't actually know a thing. Now, this part here is the key. This is where people jump ship. This is where people give up. This is where people go, this is too hard for me. I'm moving out. I'm doing something different. I don't care. Just like I did with the AI chatbot I made for my brother's website. I went, I don't have the skills. This is too hard. See you later. But the great thing we know with education is if we keep persisting, if we put the effort in, and if we are guided by the right people, then we can get some wins. So that's when we come up with that uptrend. This actually makes sense. Did I actually do that? And yes, I did it. So follow me through. It will be challenging, but I promise you'll get to that I did it phase and you'll be loving it. So let's do it, hey. There's 3 lessons. We're going to master AI in D&T. First lesson, the AI mastery cycle. This is a 3-step process to integrate AI into any design and tech lesson. It's so powerful, even Tony Stark would be impressed. Lesson 2, we're going to be prompt planting framework. Now, never stare blankly at ChatGPT again. We're sick of just going, what do I write? What do I write? What do I write? Remember, perfection is the enemy of progress. So these frameworks will help you craft the perfect prompts faster than you can say 3D printer. And that third lesson is the AI implementation trap. We're going to figure out how to avoid the top AI implementation pitfalls, troubleshoot your way to D&T teaching success. Sounds pretty good? Yeah, let's get into it. All right. So what already exists? There's 3 AI platforms that I asked you to have a look at and get access to in my latest email. So first one is Claude. This is my bread and butter. This is the one I use over ChatGPT and all other AI. And the reason being is it has all these key tasks. We got question answering on a wide range of topics. You can upload and reference documents for text analysis and summarization. Writing assistance for essays, articles, stories, scripts, resumes, the list goes on. You can code in it. You can actually ask it to give you an explanation of why this code is working or why it's not. You can do data analysis and interpretation, task planning, breaking down, proofreading, editing. The list goes on. There's a really cool aspect to this one called artifacting, where you can create your own knowledge bank as well, which is just next level. The next one we can explore. Now you're going to choose whatever one of these for today, but Poe. If you've never heard of Poe, this is a pretty cool one. I use it quite a bit for specific chatbot integration. Now, I told you about the wine business chatbot. This one requires literally no coding at all. So answer questions, get instant questions to queries. You can content create with it. It can do text and image. You can create your own custom chatbot and with your own personal prompts and data. You can access multiple chatbots as well. There's like a huge library. And what you can do is you can actually use ChatGPT or Claude to power your Poe chatbot, which I know that might sound really technical right now, but don't worry, I'll give you the skills. We'll get there. The last one is Copilot. This one I chose because it's got text integration, but you can search the internet. The great thing with this is if you use it through Microsoft Edge Explorer, the internet browser, you can actually get Copilot, sign in, you get ChatGPT Premium or Pro for free. Yeah, you heard that right. You can get the whole Pro version for free. You just need to go through Edge. which is the new version of Microsoft Explorer. So you can search the internet, you can answer questions, summarize content, generate text and images, reformat text, learning new skills, find travel destinations if you're really just like, I don't want to care about work right now, I'm still in holiday mode from the other week. Or you can just do the draft in the notorious email. So choose, what one do you want to go down? What adventure do you want to go on? That is what you are going to be sticking with today. Now, we won't have enough time to jump into all, but a little bit of one of them will be definitely on the cards. So first lesson, the AI mastery cycle. Remember those 3-step process to unlock the potential of AI and empower your design and tech lessons. So here's how I learned it. Key question we need to ask is, what is the single best way to save time so I can create amazing experiences and results for my students? Now, Tony Robbins, if you don't know him, he's amazing. He's taught me the first principle of incredible results is to model someone who's already achieved them. Now, first, let's be clear about what generative AI is. Now, there's so many definitions out there, but here's a simple one. Generative AI, like ChatGPT, is a system relying on explicit programming and rules. It uses large data sets to learn patterns, retrieve data, and create new content from instructions, i.e. prompts. Okay, generative AI is the one that can generate content, including text, images, music, video, and this is similar to or inspired by existing data. Now, I want to put a big caveat on this one. There's all these definitions such as large language models, chain of thought. There's all these concepts, but just think about generative AI is a swimming pool full of data. And if you put a prompt in saying, hey, I've got a fishing rod and I stick it in there, I'm trying to pull out some data and see if it's accurate. That's what large language models are. It's like fishing in a swimming pool full of data and hoping you catch a specific thing right at the bottom of that pool. So we've got to know what to prompt and how to prompt. That is it in a nutshell. All right. So as we know, teaching is much more than just the structure of what is being taught. It is how we, as the experts, lead pedagogy in our classes. So here's how I used it. The old design and technology case study assessment method was laborious, unengaging, and failed to prepare students adequately for HSC examinations and real-world applications. I can't tell you how sick I was of seeing the iPhone case study another time. It was just doing my head in. So, as an experienced design and technology teacher, I was frustrated with the boring and repetitive nature of the traditional case study assessment. So what if we could redesign the entire assessment process using AI to make more engaging, relevant, and effective for our students? Well, having led various assessment reporting teams and as experienced HSC marker, I knew what effective assessment looked like. So I realized I could leverage AI to not only create a new assessment, but also teach my students how to use it ethically for research and planning. So I completely redesigned Year 12 Emerging Technology and Innovation case study. That incorporates AI tools while preparing students for the handwritten part of the exams. So here's the strategy. We need to break the assessment into 3 parts: identification and research, synthesis and communication of that research in planning, presentation and communication. Now, if we don't break it down in those 3 parts, we can blow this assessment out to weeks and weeks and weeks of pointless research because we haven't structured it really clearly. We're then going to use AI just for the research and planning stages, and then require students to handwrite the communication for the exam preparation. This did 2 things. This stopped cheating, but also engaged them in AI. So I gave them the frameworks that I'm going to teach you today, but it actually enhanced their skill set for exams as well as real world use of AI. So we focused on, like we have to, the emerging tech impact on society and the environment, and then we provide in-depth study for specific designs. So the results, we created engaging, differentiated tasks addressing various learning needs. And the insane thing about this is I developed the entire assessment task, including the marking criteria, in just 45 minutes. Yeah, I'll pick your jaw off the floor. That's insane. This would usually take us weeks to create the marking criteria as well as the assessment. Now, especially since it was in 3 whole parts. So that's 3 whole marking criteria separate as well as the assessment itself. And all of that was done by successfully integrating AI tools in my curriculum. So the results for our students, they were highly engaged. I was blown away by how quickly they engaged with it, how that much they loved being given some autonomy and given some trust on, yes, we're going to teach you how to use the AI the right way. They researched designs they were actually passionate about. No more iPhones for us. And then they achieved incredible results. Now, I'll just give you a bit of context. My design and technology class, the one just about to do their exams, it was a huge spectrum. I mean, I've got a learning support student in there who is heavily requiring support, who'd never done any design or practical course in his life prior to joining the Year 11 cohort. And then I've got all the way to the other end. I've got the most high achiever, probably ducks into school, but really, really anxious overachiever. So if they don't get things perfect, they'll shut down and have a bit of emotional breakdown. So you've got the really polar opposites, the massive spectrum, and the results they got was incredible. Everyone got success, everyone was engaged, and I reduced a task that would take 4 weeks down to 2. And then the crazy thing is I could use AI to mark the first 2 parts of the assessment, and then I could just mark the last one because it was obviously handwritten. So amazing, amazing things. So do you think this has proved that theoretical knowledge of prompt engineering could be successfully applied in practice? All right, so here is where you can use it today. There is your steps for success. We've got 3 parts to this. While I'm chatting, feel free, jump on to one of those 3 programs you were looking at, Claude, Poe, or Copilot. If you've got any concerns or questions, just chuck them in the chat and I'll happily answer as we go. We're not going to spend too long on this section. So probably about 5 minutes. Now, what I'm going to say is spend 5 minutes brainstorming as many ideas as you can on how to integrate AI into your teaching, just like I did with the AI case study which we created. Now, before you jump in too heavily, I want to give you your steps for success for the AI mastery cycle. So first, you need to iterate. The first answer is not always your best. We know this. We're design and tech teachers. We know the design process through and through. It's exactly the same. We need to iterate. Context is key. Be specific by providing a role statement or background. Doesn't really matter, just what is the specific role or background you're going to give this AI. And then constraints enable creativity and enhance the clarity of your response. So make sure you box things in regards to, otherwise it'll start generating information the wrong direction. Remember that massive swimming pool full of data, and we're just trying to pick out the perfect piece. If you don't constrain and reduce the size of that swimming pool, you're going to get the wrong data coming back at you. So just consider how big your prompt is in regards to your constraints. So we're going to spend about 5 minutes in that process. So jump in, have a look, choose one of 3, and if you've got a concern, just chuck it in the chat, and then we can go from there. if you're struggling for ideas for what are we generating in regards to ideas for how do we integrate AI into our teaching, I'll give you another example. My colleague, he is a chemistry teacher, and I basically taught him how to create a chatbot to be a full tutor for his chemistry class because he had the bottom cohort who were really struggling. So he created an AI chatbot for chemistry. It's pretty unreal. So consider, what are you going to do? What do you want to do? And here's your steps to success. We're going to spend about two to 3 more minutes on this section, and then we're going to move through. Yeah, great point there, Colby. Is Claude has heavily reduced their free access and run out of prompts quickly, thus defeating defaulting ChatGPT. Yeah, so basically, do you know if there is any other ways to access Claude model? Yes. So the Poe is the bot that I told you about, or the other program I told you about, POE. If you Google that and then just open it up, you can use a Gmail account, and then basically you can access Claude using a certain amount of tokens. So the reason you run out of prompts is the prompts you are putting in possibly we're using a certain amount of tokens. Now, I won't get into the complexity of what that means, but it's like putting in your coins into a little claw machine and just hopefully grabbing something out. So you've only got, say, 10 coins, $10, 10 little $1 pieces, put it in that coin machine, and you're hopefully getting the right response out. So if you want more access, Poe, you can choose Claude as one of the bots knowledge bases, and then you can go in there. Otherwise, I can see the benefit. So personally, I actually invested in the paid version of Claude. It's about $32 a month, roughly. And the great thing this is it's teaching use, so it's tax deductible. So for less than $500 a year, we can actually deduct that on tax, and then you've basically got unlimited access and you've got an insane powerhouse ready to go. So there's my sort of answer to that one for you. All right, we're going to go and get into the next part. Now, if you're still working, feel free to continue on, but just keep your ears pricked up so we don't, yeah, fall too far behind. So yeah, no, all good. Yeah, Poe is amazing bit of platform. Happy to dive more into that later on the track. All right, let's keep going. So the next lesson, prompt planting framework. Now this might actually help your dilemma there, Colby, is the framework in getting the best prompt to get the best response, so we don't waste all our tokens in that claw machine too quickly. So never stare blankly at ChatGPT again. We're going to use those frameworks to create that perfect prompt real quick. So here's how I learned to use it. Oh, here's how I learned it. All right, as an educator, you can probably tell I'm passionate about technology. I saw the need to empower teachers with practical AI skills for education despite the external challenges, ethical issues, funding issues, always got a lack of time. So because teachers lacked the understanding and practical application of AI, and this is really, for me, limiting student engagement and learning outcomes. This is not the fault of design and tech teachers, since there is little quality collaborative teacher professional learning for us in these kind of topics. So what if I could provide teachers with a simple framework to effectively use AI in their teaching practice? but I really just didn't know where to start. So I went on a mission to learn as much as I physically could about AI and prompt engineering. As I said, I already did the $1,000 Sydney University AI masterclass early in 2023. And then after that, I did course after course after course. And one day I was in the garden helping dad. He's a fanatic gardener. You should see the garden at his house. It's incredible. And a simple framework sprung into my head. And that was the prompt planting framework. Now you can probably see the irony there, but this is where I developed it. This pruning some trees, helping dad in the garden, and then bang, it just came to me. So here's how I used it. First, I wanted to test it out to make sure that the framework actually worked. Now, give you a little bit of context. Last year was my first year at the new school I'm at the moment. Now, they have a pedagogy model called the 4 Cs. That stands for collaborative, creative, critical reflection or communication, and creativity. Pretty sure that's the 4. Yeah, you can see it's super confusing just because they're all C's and I always get tripped up over them. Anyway, their frameworks for how to question students, how to engage students are fantastic. I love them because they create that collaborative space. They create a ability for people to connect and reflect. It obviously does have its negatives because it's so deep and complex. So I thought, well, what do I do with this AI framework that I've just come up with? Well, I will actually design a 15-minute activity using the 4 Cs pedagogies that I already knew and had the frameworks ready to go. I put it in AI and I asked it a simple question. And I used the framework that I'm about to teach you. I said, create a 15-minute activity to teach my Year 9 students all about the design process. Ensure that this is capped at a 15-year-old level, engages drawing, sketching, and collaboration. Use some of the 4 Cs pedagogy to enhance the learning experience of these students. And to my surprise, this was one of my most engaging lessons I've ever taught. In 15 minutes, these students were walking around in groups. They were given a task each. You're going to design a table. You're going to design a chair. You're going to design a bookshelf in a table of 4. So first, on your corners of your page, draw 4 of what you think a good design of a table or a chair or a bookshelf looks like. You all get a corner. Fantastic. Next, you're going to get up and then you're going to say one thing you like about the other person's concept on your corner and you rotate around the table. Second, you're then going to get to a collective idea. Draw in the middle. What is your final concept? Third, you're then going to show your concept to a table next to you. Talk about it. What are the features? What do you like? Why do you like it? Then once you're done, awesome. Give your piece of paper to that person and they're going to annotate. What are they seeing? What are they liking? What could be improved? And they're going to draw all over it. And then finally, you're going to come back and you're going to review, reflect, and then come up with another final design. Now, just to give you some context, this Year 9 class is 20, well, there was 20 boys, 1 girl. The boys were rough. I mean, really, really rough. They were bouncing off the walls. Anytime you say the word theory, they're like, no, sir, we hate you. We're not doing that. Let's just get on the tools. We just want to do prac. And you guys know what I'm talking about. They just will fuse flat chat to do theory. After this, they started to get engaged. They started to move. They started to do what they were asked to do, but they started doing it with confidence and they actually did it with enthusiasm. And then I've got students there who barely ever speak, say a word because they fear some sort of other student's gonna like tease them or something. We're the ones doing the final presentation and pitch of here's our concept, here's our idea. So that simple lesson plan, 15 minutes, was highly engaging, highly transformative, but it only took me a couple of minutes through AI using the prompt planning framework. So that new opportunity presented after that. I tested it. I said, yes, this actually works. So I ended up starting to mentor teachers to integrate AI into their teaching practices, enhancing student engagement and learning outcomes. One way I did that was I had masterminds. I had 10 people in a group and I would work my way through and we would actually enhance our learning outcomes for those students. So my strategy: introduce the prompt planning framework for crafting AI prompts, provide real-world examples of AI application in education, just like I've just done with the 4Cs design process task. I offered ongoing mentorship and guidance. I shared the strategies for navigating challenges for AI implementation in schools, provided that framework for ethical AI use in education, and create a supportive community for those teachers interested in AI. So the results: successfully, I've then led over 200 teachers in professional development for AI. That prompt planning framework, I partnered with another framework that I've created called CRAP. Now, I'll share you that one later if you haven't heard of it yet. And then leading a collaboration circle, like I was saying, that mastermind of 10 highly driven teachers, we actually saw results and saw impact. And those teachers weren't just in design and tech. They were science, English, maths, art. They were across the school because I wanted to test that this worked not just for one person's content, but for everyone's. And it did. So here's how you can use it today. This is your steps for success. I know this might be looking a little confusing. I'm going to explain to you how we interpret this right now. So first, you'll notice that there's 3 rows. Now I'll use my little cursor. There's 3 rows going across. You got your headings: seed, task, style, parameters. Okay, they are overarching what we are trying to do. Remember our AI mastery cycle: iterate, give it constraints, and context is key. This is engaging those principles. Then you've got on the next row down, you've got text, actions, genre, voice, format, constraints. This is your text line. So if you're doing any prompting for text, this is your line you refer to. If you were doing it for images, this would be the last line or last row would be what you'd be referring to. Okay, so this seeding option is like planting it in the seed. Remember we said give it a background before, give it some sort of guide or role or task. That is this part. Now it is optional. You don't necessarily have to do it, but sometimes if you do, you'll get better results. So just be where we use it, we don't. So the idea is we want to give it a task. We want to tell it the style, and then we want to tell it the parameters. So in one of those AI platforms you're using, Claude, Poe, or Copilot, you're going to spend the next 7 minutes or so using the prompt planning framework to design a 15-minute activity in an upcoming lesson, just like I did for my design process for my Year 9 students. So, as I said, I gave you the prompt before: design a 15-minute task. And this was in the style of a lesson plan. Format, I wanted it in simple dollar points. Now, the more specific you go in the action, the better your response is going to be. Okay, so just pick something you're thinking, oh, I really want to teach these kids about, timber conversion, something that's just dry as and boring. You want to pick something that you might go, look, I'm really not even inspired to teach this thing, but it's in my syllabus, it's in my curriculum, I have to teach it. Choose something, spend the next 7-ish minutes creating a prompt for that task. And if you've got any questions, like I said before, just chuck them in the chat. Happy to answer them, and we will spend a little bit of time in that process. So jump in now. If you've come up with something cool, feel free to chuck it in the chat. Super keen to see what you guys are coming up with. One of the teachers I recently trained on this was a art teacher and again another science teacher, and they collaborated and it was amazing. They actually used historical figures from back in their periods where they were really famous, like Einstein and then Da Vinci and other sort of major historical figures, and they created an engaging sort of characters students could interact with and ask questions. What was it like living back in this day? What was the most inspiring piece of work you designed? Things along those lines, and just got them engaged different way. I'm going to have about 1 more minute, 2 more minutes. Have a think. What is something you could use? Now, the prompt planning framework takes time to get your head around. Remember, action. What is the task you want it to do? Now, the things that are sort of highlighted, faded out, like the domain, the voice, the constraints, those things, they are optional again, but they enable accuracy. Remember, constraints enable accuracy, context enables accuracy. So the ones that are sort of grayed out a little bit, you can change the idea if you'd like. All right, I know you're going to be wanting to keep going, but we're going to need to move on soon. So just give me a thumbs up, ready, or chuck it in the chat. Yes, keen, let's go. Awesome. Let's do it. So the last lesson we're going to look at really is the AI implementation trap. How to avoid the top implementation pitfalls, troubleshoot your way to D&T teaching success. Now, you've probably already hitting a few right now. So let's figure out how do we solve those. Now, here's how I learned it. Did you notice that there is rapid adoption of AI tools by our students? You've probably seen counts and counts of cheating, of malpractice, or tasks of these students miraculously gotten better at their writing. Oh, they're using a 3-syllable word here. Wow, they don't usually do that. What's going on? They're using AI, so we need to figure it out. So a report by Harvard back in September of 2024 found that more than 51% of young people aged 14 to 22 reported using some form of generative AI. Now, I believe in school context, in secondary, that is a lot higher, but this was a bigger range of people. Now, the issue with ChatGPT AI, and this is data from Sydney University AI Masterclass that I did. I just wanted to bring it forward to you just so you got a little bit of context. We're not going to dive into too much, but that top one, which I've highlighted, privacy, prompts submitted become training. Generative AI, as I said before, is that giant swimming pool full of data. And every time we prompt something in certain models, that prompt gets put into the data pool. It's the same with the artifacts or the documents you end up uploading that sometimes, depending on the platform, will become a part of the data set. So we just got to be really aware. Now, there's other key points we really need to understand about AI implementation and the trap that people fall into. There is huge, huge bias. So you might have noticed that when you have a look at AI generation of photos, or you've seen some images, most of them are of white people. Most of them are middle-aged men or young, really attractive women. This is because these models are created on that data set that was built and designed in America. So it's biased to the population of that country. Now, obviously, India, China, all those major countries will be catching up in regards to the AI platforms that we get access to. But just be aware that there is human bias in behind the data sets. Now, generality, by definition, provides most common answer. As I said, fishing in that swimming pool for the best answer, it's going to pull through. This is called what we call chain of thought. It's called the retrieval methods. It's basically going into that data set and grabbing out what it thinks you have asked for. So if you're not clear with your context, if you're not giving it constraints, if you're not being specific and iterating through your model, you're going to be presented with a load of rubbish, because we know that it's just going, oh, I think they want this thing, and it'll pull out from the data. So that's why you get similar prompts lead to very different outputs. That is really where we are looking at, because it doesn't follow the same path. It just grabs random pieces of data, and that's what we call those large language models. Now, the issue there is reliability. You may have heard the language called hallucinations. This is language, it's not knowledge. In a lot of the cases, we're getting better and better and better. However, hallucinations are when you're presented with some information from things like ChatGPT with absolute certainty. They are spat out at you like they are pure facts. And that is a big issue, because remember that first thing, it says your prompts submitted become training data. So if you're putting stuff in there, or your students are putting stuff in there that is not factually accurate, well, that's going to contribute to that data set, and then we're going to fall down that trap of reliability issues. So the most common reported use for AI was getting information, 53%. And then the other 51 was brainstorming. Now, obviously that's more than 100, but these were two different models, two different charts. The getting information, why is that a problem for teachers? Well, this is where we have fear and resistance to AI in education. It's ineffective and in AI detection tools. You would have seen some, they're absolute rubbish. School policies and ethical concerns limiting the adoption of our AI. And then we've got limited resources and support for us specific in design and tech, the people trying to sort of pioneer this technology in our courses. And the perception that AI is too complex or irrelevant, so teachers just don't try. You probably know a few people in your teams that just go, nah, too hard basket. So what if we could embrace AI as a tool for learning, teaching students to use it ethically and effectively, but while navigating those contextual challenges of teaching we are all too familiar with? So I wanted to show you this platform right here. There's an AI for that. See that big number? It says 18,832 AIs. That is the amount of AIs that are currently on the market that can be used for free / paid version. That is insane. That data is only from a few days ago. I screenshot it from the website. But if you Google, there's an AI for that, you will find insane AI. And one of the things in that is we can't stop students from accessing it. It is near impossible. So we need to know the implementation traps that we've just talked about just before. So now are you realizing that just fighting AI is literally pointless, and that we need to focus on teaching ethical and effective AI use instead? Well, here is how I used it. I created the AI implementation framework for integrating AI into design and tech education, including guidelines for ethical use and strategies for overcoming institutional barriers. Like for all of us, we don't have enough time and we don't have enough professional learning money. So my strategy, open dialogue about AI use for our students. Remember that assessment task I created with 45 minutes for my design and tech case study? Well, that was open dialogue. Here is when you're going to use it. This is how you're going to use it. And here's the strategies so you get the best responses and you don't compromise your own data in doing so. I set those clear expectations and guidelines for the AI use in classrooms. We focus on learning process and critical thinking over final products. That is a big one. People will argue, hey, if a student is using AI, they're no longer critically thinking. Wrong. If you're prompting right, you are very heavily thinking critically because you're figuring out how to prompt it correctly. Second, there is really no point in that argument. As we saw, there's 18,000 of these things. We need to get ahead of it. So create and share those AI chatbots and AI resources that we are creating so that we have ethical use of co-teachers. And then we provide those comprehensive guides and lead professional development sessions, just like this one here. So the results, we've successfully implemented AI in my classroom. You've seen that countless times today. We're teaching students to use it wisely. And we developed that framework for creating ethical AI chatbots. Now, including guidelines for bot operation. I want to be clear on this one. If you don't provide guidelines for your bots, and when you create something with like Poe, for example, your students will start saying, write this funny joke about Nazi Germany, write this funny joke about whatever it is. And they will go down that unethical guidelines and morally wrong guides. But so you need to be very clear on what you are putting as guidelines. And then what we did was we led those professional development sessions for other teachers who create AI chatbots for behavior management, for C's lesson planning, and more. One of the fantastic ones we're doing right now, I've put all of our policies and procedures for behavior management, and this is a little bit out of context. As the deputy principal, I can put through heaps of these parent or student issues that are coming my way, and then I can run it through our policy generation chatbot, and I can pull out the key documents I need a reference to, and then I can handle that problem head on, saving me literally hundreds of hours of reading emails. So we then created those comprehensive guides for designer teachers just like you to implement AI effectively. So you will see these results in those 200 teachers I trained. They shifted from fearing AI to seeing how valuable it is in education. And it is a tool. It's not here to replace you. We overcome the belief that AI is too complex or irrelevant for design and technology education. And we develop that confidence in using it ethically in the classroom, fostering a sense of innovation, adaptability in teaching practice. So here is where you can use it today. AI is not the master yet. It is a student. So follow best teaching practice, provide explicit feedback, be clear with your instructions and your prompts, and ask clarifying questions and probe for understanding. One thing that teachers forget and say, they go, oh, does it sound good? You're all good with that? Yeah, cool. That is not probing for understanding. Just be clear. What does that look like? So your steps for success today. Here is the model. It is super simple, but this is going to protect you from so many hurdles because remember before, it'll say absolute certainty. This is what your answer you're looking for is. So first, responsive iteration. This is driven by you. We need to be more precise. We need to add more context, clarify the goal, provide examples. We've sort of covered that kind of thing before through the AI mastery cycle. However, the driven by the model is different. This is where teaching best practice comes into it. Ask the model to explain what it's done well, provide reasoning for its choices, and suggest alternative prompts. The crazy thing is here, if you don't know what to prompt, you just ask it, what is the best prompt I can use to engage this, this, and this? And it will give it to you. Then you fill in the blanks. So what I want you to do is spend the next 5 minutes using that AI implementation framework you see on the screen to either reflect or respond and approve the lesson activity from that previous task that you were coming up with. That 15-minute activity for the lesson that you got coming up. Use reflective iteration or responsive iteration. Figure out which one do you want to use and just give it some context in these parameters. We got about 5 minutes or so on that task. As always, just chuck it in the chat if you've got any questions or you're wanting some feedback. 2 more minutes. Just have a look. Explain what it did well. Provide reasoning for its choices. Suggest alternative prompts. Ask it to do the work for you. All right. So wrapping it up. So yeah, put your thumb up if you're sweet, you think it's pretty cool. Get some real responses, getting us out of that implementation trap, which is a really big part of AI, and making sure we don't spend thousands and thousands of hours in the wrong direction. So let's continue on. So let me ask you a question. Can you see how understanding how to use AI can give you the skills to get your time back and to really create impact in your teaching? Yeah. So, can you see how learning these 3 lessons can dramatically reduce your workload and positively impact those who you serve, your students? In short, can you see why collaboratively learning AI, aka the future of education, is a skill worth having? And this skill may just be the bridge between where you are and wherever you want to go. It has been for me. So great. Now, here's what I know. Even if we had a full day together instead of just this 90 minutes, it's going to be hard, almost impossible to give you all that I could give you. You need more than that. No matter how good anyone is, one presentation isn't going to change your life. And while everything given today is valuable, it's just the tip of the iceberg. And if you're like what I've shared with you today, you're going to love what I've got for you next. You see, before doing this presentation, I was forced with one of 2 choices. Go alone. The first option is part ways with you and hope that you are on your own, can just figure it out. Or my second option, I could take a more active role and responsibility for your success to create that win-win situation. I chose the second option. And so it's with great pleasure to introduce you to It's Time to Create.